Right, here we are live again. Glad to be carrying on with the Voron V0.1 mods and upgrades. A big thanks to our 3 sponsors, so I do have to let you know that. And they are... A big thank you to Bigtreetech, Bondtech and Printy Please for sponsoring live streams on Vector 3D. You can find out more via the links in the video description. There you go, 3 sponsors. You'll hear more about those in some ad segments, promo segments, whatever you want to call them, a little bit later on in the live stream. For now, we can carry on with where we were, which is namely doing the modifications for the Bondtech LGX Lite, this tiny, tiny little extruder, which is absolutely adorable. So, yes, quite a lot to do. So, in case you're not aware, let's just cover of some of the mods that are going to be happening. So we've got the Bigtreetech SKR Pico, that's their little control board. Obviously, tiny things for the Voron. The LGX Lite, tiny extruder for the Voron. Kirigami, which is the bed, so we did a lot of that in the last episode. That's all looking pretty good, pretty stable, pretty sturdy. Sun-on fans we're probably not going to be doing now because I realised the ones that we already have are sun-on, so not really an upgrade unfortunately. New X-rail, so I've replaced this one, the one that I had originally from LDO. Unfortunately, seemed to not be quite perfect, which is unlike LDO, but you know, these things do happen, so I've changed that for basically an almost identical one, but I should have a little bit less play. We're going to do a top hat hinge, so the whole lid will have a hinge on it to make it easier to access the extruder. Some RGB LEDs for partying and fun, because there's a RGB header on the Pico. We're adding a door to the rear, so that will make access to the rear electronics a little bit easier when we need to. And no drop nuts, which is a mod for little add-on parts that allow you to slide the nuts into the extrusions and then not slide back out the end. So that's really useful to know. So yeah, in the first episode we basically stripped the whole thing down to the frame. Mostly, it's not completely, but a large part of it was dismantled. And I'm just thinking we might have to do some more. No. I really, yeah, so first episode was stripping down. Second episode we kind of got the kirigami bed all in place and made a good bit of progress on the LGX Lite mod for the extruder. So that's where we're going to be carrying on. What I was just thinking of there, as I mentioned, tearing down the printer, was when I put the panels back on, I would quite like all the nuts that are in the size for those panels to use the little no nut slidey mod thing. That'd be really useful, because then when you take the panels off and put them back, you don't have to realign the nuts and move the printer around all the time, because that can be a bit of a pain. Unfortunately, while some of the extrusions are accessible for doing that, so I will try to do it where I can, some of them are really inaccessible, like for example this one down the bottom here. In order to get to that, we basically have to go back to the complete start of the printer, so I'm not going to do that, it's just too much. But I would suggest, if you are building from scratch and you're going to be using this mod to prevent your nuts from sliding all over the place, then I would suggest you do that from the start. Hello everyone, welcome back for those who were here yesterday. Good to see you all again. Good to see other people installing kirigamis. Don't forget to use the links below, by the way. There's links down there for Bondtech, Printy Please and Bigtreetech. So if you're looking at getting some of these things, use those links. Yes, so today we're going to start with this. I think it's probably the best place to get on with, isn't it? I reckon. Which involves carriage, which means belts. So I think belts is first thing. I'm printing, by the way, as we go. I've got a tiny 0.25mm nozzle on the VCore 3 because for these very tiny little anti-sliding nut things. They're best, well, I think they're best printed with a very small nozzle because they have very small features, and if you have a larger nozzle, then they tend to be a little bit splodgy. So one of those has failed, two of those has failed. Ugh, they're not that easy to print, unfortunately. Oh, no, please, please, no. Oh, dear. The contact surface on the bottom, because they have to be just so tiny, 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 the contact surface is really, really small. And I think, I don't know, we're having a bit of trouble printing bunches of them at the same time. Hopefully, maybe I'll try and squish that first layer a little bit more, or maybe I just need to clean the bed surface, because I definitely don't do that as much as I should do. Let me just try and clear. It's difficult, isn't it? Well, that's going to be what it is. We'll see what comes out at the end. It might be by the time it gets to the end that they're all just one big splodgy mess. Hopefully not, though. Okay. Let's compose myself and carry on. So, Bondtech kindly sent me a little bit of a guide yesterday, courtesy of Olaf, who did the design for this, just to help clarify a couple of the assembly points. And so I know the next thing to do is the belts, because we need the belts in place before we put the carriage in/on. So that's the thing to do next. So I've got to remember how these are routed. Okay, so that goes around there, so that's got to come off there, so that's going this way. Okay. Let's bring this camera into something. What's the weather like? It's a classic question. I can't see, the curtains are closed. It's all been pretty grey and miserable for ages now. The longest spool holder is at my GitHub, so there's a separate link in the description. Separate link in the description for my GitHub page, which is for something else, but there you should be able to find the V0 mods section, and within there is one for the longest spool holder. Would it make sense to print these on a resin printer? Oh, these little nut capture things, I would say no, because part of the design is that they are flexible, and resin is very much not flexible, unless you have a more flexible resin. But they're designed to flex a bit, to kind of squeeze into the extrusion slightly. Resin printer probably not best. Small nozzle, I think, is the right way. You just have to make sure your bed adhesion is better than mine is currently doing. Because it's not doing particularly well at the moment, that. Oh, camera angle. Come on, wakey, wakey. So I'm doing this a bit from memory, but I've checked. So by looking at the gears, you know which way the pulleys rather than idlers, you know which way around the belt's got to go, and then from there you can kind of map back which place you need to start at and which way around the belt needs to be. So that's what I've done, and I'm pretty sure this needs to go in here this way around. So I'll put the belts that we pre-cut last time all into place. Once we've got them in, we'll add the carriage and secure them. It's helpful, I find, to do this with a pair of tweezers, just because the area is quite small. Well, you can push the belt around it. The further you're pushing it in, the belt tends to just not be strong enough to push, and there's just too much friction build up. So Be a little bit careful when you're pulling it through. You don't want to overspin the motor. I mean, it probably doesn't matter, it's not connected to a driver, but general rule of thumb, don't spin motors more than you actually need to. So that's going to carry on around the back, that's going to carry on around there, and then when we get to here, that's got to come through this side. So we've got lots and lots of extra belt length. Probably gone a little bit too generous on the bonus belt length for this one, compensating for the last time where I allowed no extra belt length and it was very difficult. So we should be able to poke these two belts through this one hole. Nice. You just finished yours with the Duet 3 Mini 5 Plus. Very nice. I've gone the very, very tiny option. The Pico. It's so adorably small and a bit different, so I thought it'd be interesting. Clicky for 0.1, it does seem a bit excessive given that the bed is very, very small. If you want to do it just for funsies and experiments and whatnot, then by all means go ahead. I don't let me stop you. I just don't expect it to like automatically do everything for you, because there's not a lot to do. If you're having trouble leveling the bed at this size, I'm not sure clicky is your solution. I think maybe learning a little bit more might be the better thing to do. I don't know. So belt going to face the same way. That's going to go in here, about like this. It's going to go up here. It's going to go around here. So important to obviously get this belt in the right place. This is wrong. This needs to be up on here. That needs to be up on here. This has got to go through here. Again, tweezers to help. You can kind of maybe try to push it up, out the top, then down, out the back, and then poke the top bit down around the pulley. That's a pretty easy way to do it without tweezers. That's going to obviously come around the front now. Down past this one, and then through here. Okay, looking nice. Just noticed the Vehicle 3 has just finished printing. Oh dear. It's weird because the first layer is basically perfect. It's just still not stuck particularly well. It's actually really quite hot. These are the smallest ones. Even these look a bit over extruded. Just a bit of a squishy blob. Might turn fans up a little bit. Try and print some more. I'm sure that's going to work. So this is what I did before. So I'm going to have fans more on at the start because I think that's a bit needed. Also going to increase it quite a bit because they're just so tiny. They are solid as well. What I do want to try is reducing the extrusion a little bit. Where is that? I always forget. It's already at 93%. Maybe it's alright then. Okie dokie. I'll go send that straight away. I can imagine the Mini 5 Plus being a bit of a tight fit. It's quite a... It's not super large, is it? But it's pretty big still compared to the Pico anyway. Where is everyone today? Maybe this time is a bit early. It worked quite well during the week, but maybe it's a bit early for weekend times. Might have to look at doing later ones for the weekend slot. This is what I'm focusing on. So we need these little clamps for the belt. Can't remember what size screw. In fact, I'm going to check the manual for this. Should be just here. Where will this be? There we go. Obviously that's the original rather than the modified, but it's based on the same design. So. Any chance you're doing the V-Minion soon? Also, did you see the Rat Rig V-Core IDEX? Yes and yes. I'm hoping to do a V-Minion soon, and I did see that there's V-Core IDEX information appearing. Don't know when the V-Minion will be yet, but it should be coming. Can't confirm yet. So that's that one in. So when are you going to design your own 3D printer? I did that ages ago. If you look up Steve on my channel, you'll see it. I did Core XY before Core XY was cool. Design my own 3D printer though is probably not something I'll do again. I can end up getting a bit carried away, like with the rat rig mods that I've got coming up. I basically have redesigned all the printed parts just to make it different, but I find it it's easy to get carried away when you're modifying things. I try not to do it too much, but you know, it just happens. Well, that has gone much easier than the first time I put the belts on, I'll tell you that. Now, I'm not sure this is going to, oh, it's going to be tight. I mean, the mods I'm doing or want to do for Rat Rig are extensive. Yes, open front is one of the things. Completely changing the enclosure, changing all the joints, it's changing the rear enclosure, removing some of the extrusions, just everything. It's just, the thing is, it's such a simple design, it's a clever, simple design, that it makes it very easy to modify, which is a bit dangerous because it means that, well, I mean, it's good, really. That was part of the, it was designed to be easy to modify. But for me, it's dangerous because it means I just want to modify everything. Just tinker until I can't tinker anymore. So just checking the instructions again. I can't remember what size screws we're supposed to use here. M2x6. I think these ones are a bit longer than that. 8. For some reason I can't find... I must have M2x6 because I took this carriage off. Are they in the old carriage? Maybe they're stuck in the carriage that I removed. No, that doesn't seem to be in here anyway. Which extruder and hot end combo are you testing next in your flow rig? Oh, can't tell you that. That's secrets, that's spoilers. There is more coming though. What am I looking for? As soon as I answered the question, I forgot what I was doing. Am I looking for screws? The old one. Where's it gone? Aha, this is the previous carriage. They're not secured into this. Some of these longer than others. These are all by 8. Yeah, those are too long. Let's check this original bag, see if it's in there. M2x6. There's so many spare screws in this, it's fantastic. This means you always got what you need. Hello, hello from Indiana. Good afternoon to Indiana. Oh dear, that's just locked completely into place. What the hell? Is that these screws? Oh! This screw's too long. How has that happened? How am I going to deal with this? Maybe I'm just doing it way too tight. That's... Can you follow Is this Twitch? I'm not following Twitch very closely, so apologies. I'm not very good at the old Twitch chat. It seems to be scratching the extrusion. No. No, 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 no. Right, I'm going to take this one out. Just going to file the end of the screw off a tiny bit. It's one of those situations, I think, where you actually want a 7mm screw, but they don't exist, so. This might not be easy like this. Let's get a grippy thing. Yeah, I realised as soon as I started filing that I should have put a knot on it. I would normally. Yeah, so yeah, what the suggestion was there, just in case anyone's going to do it themselves, put the nut onto the thread like this, and then file it down. That way, if you damage the threads and you can't get something off, you have this nut that you can take off, and the process of taking it off should help your threads. Alternatively, I find if you just file a chamfer around the top edge, that tends to fix things as well. Upgrades are SKR Pico, so the Bigtreetech control board, LGX Lite, which is obviously what I'm doing now, the new X-Rail, which I'm obviously mounting this to, top hat hinge, so a hinge for the top hat, RGB LEDs along the inside, rear door modifications, so easier access to the rear electronics, and no drop nuts. I'm not completely doing the no drop nuts because that would require complete assembly from scratch, but I'm doing it where needed. It's still happening. There's something still scratching. It must be the other screw now. Yeah, it is the other one. I should have just done. Why did I not do both when I had it on? These screws still. How much is sticking out of this thread? Because if it's 2mm, then I could just switch to 6mm screws, couldn't I? It's only 1.3mm, that's why. I'm not going to put the nut on again because the screws are a bit short. I think it might just be more difficult. I didn't have a problem last time, so let's hope I don't this time. It is weird they're too long. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's slightly thinner than the original one. Not sure. Doesn't. Difficult to tell. Yeah, I think it's thinner than the original. That could be why. I think. These are not M2 as well, by the way. These are M3, these screws. This is weird. I'm going to try M3x6. Thing is, they may not be able to use the same carriage geometry because I think they want the nozzle to be in the same position. And if the extruder then has to impact other things, then these things can change. I'm going to try M3x6 if I got some. That's M3x6. I've got some, let's use some brand new ones. See if these are thick enough, long enough. Might be a bit difficult to get on, but hopefully no impact beyond that. Yeah, I can't even get this one on, I don't think. Okay, that's one in. These belts not very aligned. Let's see if we can. Oh, darn. It's not very in at all. No, 6 is not going to be long enough, I don't think. Might be able to just struggle with a 6. I think these are going to be the right ones. Just going to have to file them down a bit more, I think. Unfortunately. I'm not sure why I'm really taking very much material off, but Right, let's try this again. Okay, that's that side. Bounce it even. That's flat. Let's screw that in. Struggling to just put my fingers in the right place. There's just stuff in every direction. I'm trying to do this so you can still see what's going on, but it means my hands are all backwards and the thing's not in the right place now. No, I don't think that's going to work, is it? Maybe it will. No. Okay. I think that's okay now. Ooh, another batch is ready. I wonder how well the next one's turned out. There's still some scratching on this end. God, it's absolutely wrecking it. I'm guessing because the rail is slightly closer on this side. It's a tiny smidgen, but it is damaging the rail, unfortunately. What worries me is if I undo them too much, sure why it's... Let's have a look at what's happened up here. Oh dear, absolute carnage. Nothing stuck at all. Oh dear, printing little things, eh? Not easy. Spaghetti, so yeah, it was complete spaghetti. So I kind of tried to push this to the front instead of central. It's probably only 0.5 mm difference, but it's enough that the screw now doesn't scratch. Question is, can we tighten these as much as I want to? Is the camera focused? It's not very well, is it? It's focused on the front rather than the carriage. Right, time for a quick sponsor segment, I think, and I'll grab a drink while I'm doing that. This video is sponsored by Bigtreetech, Bondtech and Printy Please. The SKR Pico is a brand new control board from Bigtreetech that, despite its tiny size, packs quite the punch, making it an ideal fit for a small form factor 3D printer like the Voron V0.1. A Raspberry Pi RP2040 chip is used as the main controller, with TMC 2209 stepper drivers for the X, Y, Z and E axis, with 2 plugs to support dual Z printers. The built-in heatsink gives a computer motherboard kind of styling and helps to cool the drivers a little bit too. Clipper has been considered in the design as well. A TPS 5450 gives up to 5 amps continuous current at 5 volts for a Raspberry Pi, and the included cable makes for easy installation via UART. There's also a replaceable fuse, thermistor short circuit protection, Japanese Murata capacitors, USB-C, and it matches the Raspberry Pi's footprint. You can get yours or find out more via the link in the description. The LGX Lite is a tiny new extruder from Bondtech, which implements their large gear design to provide increased filament grip. On the top, the filament pre-tension lever provides consistent and repeatable filament engagement, while the open sides gives access to all the gears, allowing for easy maintenance. 4 mounting patterns using M3 nuts provides plenty of mounting options, so its compact, light design and use of NEMA 14 stepper motor make it a great contender for direct drive on high-performance 3D printers. Find your local reseller via the link in the description. UK-based Printy Please specialises in parts and upgrades for 3D printers like the Voron V0 and 2.4. The kirigami bed, sun-on fans, titanium backers and spherical bearings are just some examples of the range of specialist parts available. Check out their shop via the link below. Hello, Olaf. I just had a little bit of an issue with the screws at the front. So the screws that go here were going into the extrusion. So I filed them down a little bit because I couldn't get 6mm ones to quite work. 6mm were a bit short, so I pushed the rail forward and filed the screws down a bit. Yeah, I wondered if the 6mm ones would have been more. I couldn't get them to go in. Maybe I should have persisted a little bit more with the 6mm ones. Shall I take it all apart and try with the 6mm ones? I'm just going to get frustrated. Yeah, I did mount the bounce before screwing this down. Obviously I've done this after the fact. I think this is okay now. But I do have to fully decide, don't I? Because I've got to cut these belts off. Indeed, it does look great, doesn't it? Absolutely fantastic. Fantastic. Okay, so let's just check the belts are positioned around the right pulleys and everything, because nothing worse than cutting those short and then realising they're positioned wrongly. Yeah, that's around there, that's around there, that's around the front. Ran it, ran it, ran it. Looking pretty good. Glued the belt ends together and tacked the mega beam nuts to the belts to iterate fast on the X carriage. Yeah, I suppose if they were held in, like, I don't know. It fits though. We got it working, so it's all good. Let's grab some clippers. We've got to cut them off pretty short, haven't we? We can't leave much length. I don't recall exactly how short. Let's just offer this up just to see how it sort of goes. It's going to be pretty difficult with belts there. It's going to go right in there. Yeah, we've got zero room. I think we have to go pretty much flush. They're about flush with the screw heads. I need to manage where these cables are going. Now let's try, I'll put the cables down so I can test fit, hopefully without cables getting in the way. Them screws not long enough. That looks pretty good, pretty straight. The top is very not straight though. That's not aligning at all, oddly. Got a big gap here. That's going to cause a problem. Something I think is a bit warped, but I don't know quite what. See, the problem is, as I'm screwing that in, looks like the Bondtech piece is not sitting flat on the ABS part. Let's have a closer look at that. This part, my part looks flush. It looks square. Yes. This is not very square on here. This is... How can I sort this out? Maybe I've just over-tightened it. See if I can show you. I think one of my problems is going to be, I don't know if you can see, it's difficult for me to highlight. See, this face, this top edge here is a little bit more that way than it should be. To be square with this edge, it gives a bigger gap here. Obviously me doing it with my finger doesn't really demonstrate it very well, but I think. Or is it? Yeah, it definitely is. So why is that? I think I've over-tightened the nuts. I think that's what it is. And the nylon's been able to flex, and that's pulled it down, I think. Oh, come on, the screw's getting stuck. It's like it needs a very tiny shim this side, because I think this top edge maybe is wider or something. It's like a weird opposite kind of elephant's foot kind of thing. On my printed part, not the Bondtech part. Thought we'd done this all yesterday. It's pulling forwards. I'm kind of tempted to put a little M3 washer in there, just to see what effect that has. But that's going to maybe screw up other alignment things. Ooh. It will pull itself straight, you're right, but I think it's sufficiently far off and the assembly is rigid enough that it's going to end up skewing this assembly. And obviously this will jam quite readily if it's this that's being pulled in the middle. I can't make out why it would. It doesn't make sense. More tools. So the base of that is not quite square, but it's darn bloody close, so I can't imagine that being, that's not enough to be a problem. That is as square as it should be. Good idea. Getting them tight. Back half a turn. Yeah, this gear's coming out. These gears are so weird. Half the time I can't get them out, the other half the time I can't get them back in. There we go. Okay. But I do need to work out where these cables are going, don't I? Is there anywhere to tie them to? A bit worried they might end up rubbing if not. Not going up that way, but it's kind of bulgy. Okie dokie, that looks pretty good now. Apart from this belt situation. Nope. It's quite limited room, as always, it's a V0, for these hot end cables. Heater, thermistor, etc. Whew! And we've got enough wiggle room, I think, now to get this on. Oh. So, for anyone that doesn't know, this plate is what comes with it, but this goes away for us, because we're using that as the mounting depth. So this goes on the front, but this goes, oh, got to put this gear in. Can it go in from the side? That's the question. Please, 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 yes. And then we put in this little bit. Then we put in this bit on the front. Where do we want the cable going? Maybe that way? That doesn't line up. Right, moment of truth. How much friction have we imparted? Ah, not much at all. That's good. Nice and easy spinning. That's what we want. That's exactly what we want. Question is, are these screws now a bit too long? I melted mine a little bit too much. I over melted the ends of these a little bit, so they're a bit wide for fitting in this tiny space. Oh no, it's not going in. Why is it not going in? Come on. Come on, thank you. Please, come on. Why is it not? I think the issue is the screw itself. Thanks, Olaf. Enjoy your dinner. Thanks for the help. Cheers. I'm sure we can still mess it up. I'll promise I try not to. Let's get a couple of zip ties. Ah, so he mentioned, I think Olaf mentioned this because it's quite difficult to get the zip tie in after you've put the spacer in. Skills. got on this side, there's a little doobly thing, little doobly do just here, which should help us manage the cables. For Y the end stop at the back, it's just the gantry that hits it, so it directly contacts the gantry extrusion. Ow! How has that happened? How's the band caught on the... Ouch. There's a label on here. Max current 1 amp. Recommended 0.45 to 0.65. Hopefully we remember that when we do the configuration. I've forgotten the end stop. Hopefully we can still squeeze that in now. No, I think we're going to take the motor off again to get the end stop in. I forgot the blooming end stop switch. Yeah, that's not going to go without that end. Oh, Adam, you were doing so well for a minute. Murphy's Law, indeed. Whatever can go wrong will go wrong. So this little end stop switch just sits right in here on this carriage. There's only one screw. There's like a little nipple here that sits on, and then you screw in the other one. Pretty sure that's the right way around. Might work better the other way, but I'm pretty sure. Let's just refer to previous instructions. Doesn't say there. Yeah. So lever this side. this in. Right, that's looking nice. Slight detour there, but okay. So there's now a cable guide thingy majiggy. Not worried about ADXL at the moment, so that'll stay in there. Presumably that fits on like so, and that gives you somewhere to send the cables, because that's definitely not going to be right, is it? Oops. Is it supposed to go around the back? It looks like it would go front better, but I'd definitely say that the other side would be the better way to route the cables rather than this side. By like 1,000,000%, because you've got this big blob on this side. Because of the diagonal mount of the motor, this just makes access to the cable management more difficult. How's everyone's week been? Has everyone had a good week? Now that we're at Saturday, lost track of days, thought it was Friday. Anyone got new printers? Oh yeah, I forgot the motor cable. Thank you. At least with this split tubing thingy, it's not too difficult to add things in. Unlike that horrible spiral wrap. Well, congratulations on finishing all your A-level mocks. Hopefully they went well for you. I remember doing that. My mock exams went very poorly, but it all ended up okay in the end, fortunately. Four new cameras, that's a lot of cameras. Okay, that's looking reasonably managed. Right, another quick advert now. Sponsor segment, here we go. This video is sponsored by Bigtreetech, Bondtech and Printy Please. The SKR Pico is a brand new control board from Bigtreetech that, despite its tiny size, packs quite the punch, making it an ideal fit for a small form factor 3D printer like the Voron V0.1. A Raspberry Pi RP2040 chip is used as the main controller, with TMC 2209 stepper drivers for the X, Y, Z and E axis, with 2 plugs to support dual Z printers. The built-in heatsink gives a computer motherboard kind of styling and helps to cool the drivers a little bit too. Clipper has been considered in the design as well. A TPS 5450 gives up to 5 amps continuous current at 5 volts for a Raspberry Pi, and the included cable makes for easy installation via UART. There's also a replaceable fuse, thermistor short circuit protection, Japanese Murata capacitors, USB-C, and it matches the Raspberry Pi's footprint. You can get yours or find out more via the link in the description. The LGX Lite is a tiny new extruder from Bondtech, which implements their large gear design to provide increased filament grip. On the top, the filament pre-tension lever provides consistent and repeatable filament engagement, while the open sides gives access to all the gears, allowing for easy maintenance. 4 mounting patterns using M3 nuts provides plenty of mounting options, so its compact, light design and use of NEMA 14 stepper motor make it a great contender for direct drive on high-performance 3D printers. Find your local reseller via the link in the description. UK-based Printy Please specialises in parts and upgrades for 3D printers like the Voron V0 and 2.4. The kirigami bed, sun-on fans, titanium backers and spherical bearings are just some examples of the range of specialist parts available. Check out their shop via the link below. Righty-ho. I'm glad that, Jason, fixing your jab on your hot end was a quick task. They can be a bit of a nightmare sometimes. So well done. Oh, this end stoppy thing is not good. I think I might just try and glue it. It's so bizarre. Such a weird design and doesn't really work well. It's just come loose and I can't tighten the screw because there's another screw right on top of it. Been printing VCore 3 parts in ABS and an old Ender 3. Yeah, I mean, you can always reprint some parts as well, can't you? So I just wonder if this is going to work just as well. No. That would. I might just do this at an angle. It's not adjustable. But it's better than having to mess around with two screws on top of each other, which you can't access properly. Right, I think it's time for some electronicals. No. Yes. Where are they? So that would be the difference then, wouldn't it? I missed that. Oops. I can't find where I've put them. Yeah, I didn't end up installing them in the end because the ones I have, the one I have at the front rather, is already a Sun-on fan. But yes, these are 3-pin fans, so they do have a tacho wire in there too. And they're teeny tiny, of course. Let's change it to some slightly more chill music. That music was getting a bit intense. Oh, I'm going to sneeze. Oh, excuse me. So I'm just thinking now, which is why I'm not doing. So I try and think out loud instead. Need to put the electronics panel on, and I'm just considering what nuts I need to maybe modify, move, add, change, whatever, maybe that I might need to do before doing that. And I don't actually think there's much. Unfortunately, these ones which hold this panel, I'm not going to be able to put the modded nuts in because I have to remove the whole bed gantry in order to do that, and that's just not something I'm going to be doing. So those ones are going to stay loose. We have to put our new panel in, which just slides in. So that'll come in here. Doodly-doodly-doo. Those can go in. We need some new nuts in here because we're going to be adding some magnets for the rear door. But I think that's okay, because that's just removing that 1 foot at the bottom, so we can kind of do that any time. I think it might be time to start planning how these electronics are all going to fit at this panel at the back. Thinking causes wrinkles, best to avoid it. Well, not got too many wrinkles yet. Bring this way a bit, shall we? Don't want to go too far. In fact, if I brought it this way, but then tilted it back. And that's probably a better view. So just need to try and get wires out the way. My desk is a mess and it's making it difficult to think. Oh man, that's an intense question. I feel I can only give the obvious answers. Do you want the obvious answers, or do you want me to try and... I'd say the best thing about the 2.4, or some of the best things, is the ability to not have to buy from anyone, so all the self-sourcing, and the fact that it's all set up to do that. I really like that. I also really like that it has an enclosure that's not an afterthought at all. It's really designed to have it and works with it. Oh, you're shooting me. Oh. 6mm. Oh, I think we're going to have this problem again. Maybe not too much. Okay. The VCore 3, its modability, the fact that it is a really simple design, it's much easier to understand what's going on, especially for newcomers. And like contrary to the Voron one, it's good that you can get it in an all-in-one kit, mostly. I wish it was all in one, but you can't have everything. Oh, piss. I've lost a nut. No. I've lost my train of thought. And the obvious one about the Voron 0.1 obviously is just that it's small, right? Small, convenient to use. It might still be quite expensive, but you can have it in much smaller spaces. So you're living in a small apartment and don't have space for a big printer. It's still a high performance machine that you can have in a small space. I don't know what the less obvious ones are. Oh, I'm thinking now. I can't think of anything good. Concentrating on this. No, I'm not going to have the advantage of all that wiring being kind of pre-validated in terms of its position and everything. This is going to all be made up as I go along, so there may be some mistakes here. I also don't know if I want this right in the middle or if I want it somewhere else. I'm going to use this maybe temporary. I think I need the, so this is one observation of the Pico. Obviously its footprint is exactly the same as the Raspberry Pi. Like it's, come on, focus, hello. It's designed that way. It's a perfect match. The holes line up, the same size and everything. And I think the reason that they've done these connectors out the side is so that you put the Raspberry Pi over the top of it, sort of like so, and you still have pretty good access to all the connectors around the outside. And that will make sense. Apart from these connectors at the bottom here, which use screw terminals. So once you put the Raspberry Pi on it like that, you cannot get to those screw terminals. So it's just kind of, it's like 98% of the way there, and then just we've got screw terminals that are not very easy to access. I'm not sure where we would go. I mean, I've set it up at the moment so that's long enough so we can do that. So we put the Pico on top, which also looks kind of nice because you put this board on the top. But I just feel like it wasn't necessarily designed that way around. And I've got to make sure that the connector that's got to connect from one to t'other can actually fit in that gap. So now my bed connectors, the heater's plenty long enough. I don't know where the thermistor goes. I'm going to need a, that's fans at the top. So these ones down here I'm not sure of. Oops, a daisy. And then again, we can still do them side by side. There's nothing to stop me doing that. There's screws kind of in the way, or even one above the other. That sort of arrangement. So the other situation is that I was just going to use the mount that already exists, and for this one to work, you have to screw in from the top. So the way I was going to do it is just have that there, place that on there, standoffs on the top, oh, that on there, standoffs on the top of there, that on the top of there, kind of balanced, and then just long screws all the way through. Yeah, I don't even need this power supply down here anymore. We can actually take this out completely. So this is a converter for 5-volt power, which you need in the previous build because there was no onboard 5-volt power, but now there is. So we're going to have some spare nuts floating around down here, but I'm just going to put the screws back in, I think, and that'll keep them in place so they don't rattle. The pixel, I'm not sure if they're specifically NeoPixels. They're RGB LEDs. I don't know what the difference is between NeoPixel and anything else. I've not really done much RGB flashy disco LED stuff before, so that stuff's going to be a bit new to me. Just taking off these connectors down here. That's those two. That's that whole piece out of the way. No longer needed. Let's try. So this is the connector, like a so. This is the one that's designed to go between these two. So JST there, and ooh, let's check the Raspberry Pi pin out. Starts with 2 5-volt. Oh, stop it. Oh. Trying to view the images, it takes you to this Raspberry Pi page, which is like 1,000 lines long. Okay, it's top, so pin 2, top corner. So that's there. But you can see how high that's now sticking out. Which means that's then got to be half a mile away from there. So the other option actually is this little one. a smaller Raspberry Pi 0. That could go over there. We'd need to solder a header on this, I think. I know. But that on there, with that connected down there, and a little standoff there. I think that's the only connection we need between the two, so I think that'd be pretty cool. You can't see as much on this camera. I don't like this top camera, but it is what it is. Where else we could put it over here? That might make the connection easier or more difficult. Quite liking this option. These are 3-pin ground, 5-volt and signal, so I think we need to look at how everything else is connecting in, and then we'll make a decision about what the Pi is going to do. So that motor is coming in from that side, that motor is coming in from that side. And stop switches coming in from this side. I mean, lengthwise, everything's looking easy at the moment. Doesn't look like we're going to have a length problem. Oh, the extruder motor is like 1,000 meters long. I guess it's appropriate for many other printers rather than just this one. This is going to look, it's going to be so small that even in a 0 it's going to look tiny. That would clear some of the Pico headers too, like the NeoPixel that the full Pi covers. Ah, yes, of course, these ones in the middle. I had forgotten about those. Yeah, the 0W2 is looking like a fantastic option, isn't it? Yeah, it covers these ones, but these are, I believe, like senseless end stop ones, so you don't need to access them regularly. You'd set it up with those if you want to do that. Yeah, so I need to solder a header on the Pi 0. In terms of everything else, heater, this is perhaps the limiting factor. Our heater wires are quite short, so we might have to rotate this and go completely the other way around. Oh, that's a bit weird, because then the... What's the power cable that comes up here? That would still work. Then there's loads of room for heater cables, almost too much. Maybe sideways. this ways. So that power then goes off that way. And stop switches is down here. They're okay. Again, this is a limiting factor again. I have to go directly under the board for that. Thermistor's fine. Heater should be fine. Fan should be okay. That other fan should be okay. Stepper motor's got loads. And that motor's got loads. I could definitely offset it. I'll be honest, I did think of that, and I just like, it's kind of very permanently attached to this other panel, and I have not removed it yet. So, I mean, I put way too much VHB tape on this thing, and I didn't get any WD-40 still. Kind of mangled it in the process of doing it. I've just broken it. No. I was going to actually come up with some little cable management like I did on the rat rig. That would have been really nice. And this is going to go right over here. Yep. I like the idea of it being in the middle. I think that would look tidy. We'll manage the wiring, that's fine. I might just end up re-crimping a bunch of these to be shorter. Sorry, that's my head. Some of these are nice and loose so you can move them. Some of them are tight so they don't slip down the wire, which is... I mean, it's good in like most scenarios. Yeah, it is going to end up just being like cable bundles all the way around, which is the downside. I know this is kind of broken, but I think I'm pretty confident in the position of this, and we'll just send the wires around the outside. I'm also confident that I'm going to use a lot less VHB tape this time because I don't need anything like the amount that was used previously. I've lost my box of sticky things. There it is. How are we doing for time? 2 hours. Okay. I'm going to use this extremely sparingly, and then if I need more, I can put more on. It's much easier to put more than to put less. Tiny little bits. This is now still I'm almost hoping this will be not enough, because the last thing I want is too much. Not going to overdo it with the screws either at the moment. Let's do diagonally. I feel like while we're doing this, we should put this top panel in and the cable management thing. I'm going to change this camera around a bit, hang on. Ooh. Thought I'd lost a nut for a minute, but I think it's just hidden. There it is. There's a lot of thinking going on today, sorry. Gonna need a pin out for this SKR, I think. There's a GitHub page, so let me just, so from here we should be able to search, if I remember, repositories. Pico, SKR Pico, hardware. Is it one of these? Oh, that kind of works, I suppose. EXYZ. Let's find a different diagram. This one's not really the right one. This is right. So this is not going to be final wiring. This is going to be, I'm going to put everything in place, make sure everything plugs in and we can get the right lengths. And then between this episode and maybe the final one, I'll work on a cable management solution that I can install to sort everything. Everything's like, I don't know, it's going to be très difficile, I think. And stop. Why? 3-pin end stops. Okay, so we're going to need to sort those. Hot end fan. We can also change that. That needs to be a 2-pin. Oh, that's pretty easy. I'll do that right now. It was split on the original because of the weird pinouts and the limitations of the older board. But here we don't need that large connector. We'll just use this. Oh. I'm showing. Oh. So this has got loads of wire. I'll probably redo the terminals on this one, if not others as well. Just because it is really very long. Oh, does it have? It should be. The microphone should be the same between there and there. It's the same. Should be the same input and it's the same volume level. It's going to send this thermostat underneath as well, I think. Thermostat for the bed. Just going to do this while I'm here. Might as well put this back in. So I think we'll use this one for plus and this one for minus. Don't know which way the polarity on the power is. Doesn't seem to be an indicator on the. There's probably an indicator on the bottom of the board, but not on the top. Darn it. I'll go get the other one. There's probably a way to work it out. Right, so the one right in the corner is positive. Oops, there's a... It's just like rainbow spaghetti, isn't it, at the moment? Z, we're missing a Z stepper motor wire. So where's this one going? Z1 over here. Yeah, so we want cable management down along there. Maybe I should mark it with some tape. Hopefully this masking tape won't leave any residue. I mean, this just needs... 20-minute benchy when mods are done. I'm not sure we're going to have the cooling capacity because I've not upgraded cooling really at all. Right, we need some 3-pin connectors for these. We also need to make sure we don't wire them up wrongly. So I'm going to double check to the pinout for pinout on the board that was in there, the Mini E3 SKR Mini E3 V2. The end stops are just ground and signal wire. So that's what we need to replicate here. Got these, so 1, 2, 3 of these. These are like gold dust now. Rare specimens, the JST connectors. So this was connected into here. X end stop. Connected in this way around. So ground is black. $10 minutes. Do you reckon 10 minutes is doable? I've never really done speed printing, so I'm not much of an expert, to be honest. Ground signal. So signal is going to be to this side, so that's that one. White is signal, that's going that way. And then ground in the middle, so ground's there. Next to it. LDMI has done such a good job on this wiring that it's now difficult to change it. Right, here we go. So that is the X end stop. Nice. And we'll do less than 20 minutes stock. Okay. Do you mean Ender 3 with a high flow hot end or just stock Ender 3? Maybe I will give it a go. I can just see me damaging something like irreparably though. It's just, that'd just be sod's law for me. Stock Ender 3 with help from cooling fan on the side. Okay, yeah. Can't believe we're 3 episodes into this already. I still feel like I've got absolute... Look at all the parts I've still got. All of those. Whole bag there. Oh man, there's so much to do. Yes, there we go. Can ground in the middle, signal on one side. sort of the left, but depends on your orientation, obviously. So that looks like functioning wiring. Kind of done. Do you still have another fan? We've got another fan header here, so I might modify this to go on here. And then, I don't know, just blow it at an angle or something across it. A little bit of extra cooling in there won't do any harm. Right. So now I need to start considering rear door top hat stuff. So first things first, maybe we'll start with this next time. I think that would probably be a good idea. We can get all the enclosure done next episode. And then the last episode, then one after that, firmware, and then one after that, I think is final, right? This is number 3. This is 3. So I think 4 enclosure, and maybe cable management if I have time to design something between then and now and then. After that, firmware. After that, first print. Do firmware and first print in all on both 5. Either way, I think I'm exhausted now. I also have a massive toothache, which really blooming hurts. So anyway, I think that's going to be enough for me today. Made pretty good progress though. Add one more. One more what? Yeah, firmware and first print. There's quite a lot of firmware to do though, I think, but we'll see. Oh, doing 10-minute benchy in one video, that's not a bad idea. We'll do like a 1-hour benchy as the normal standard benchy, and then the last episode we can try it extra super fast. Okay, yeah, I think we're done for today though. Good progress. Starting to look much more like a printer again. Obviously the electronics is le messy, but that's fine. We'll sort that without too much trouble. Between some episode I might do the wiring of just cutting them down to length and doing terminals on the end and stuff. I don't think we all need to watch that again. Camera's in a weird place, isn't it? Anywho, thank you very much for watching. Hopefully this has been useful for anyone following along and using it as a bit of a guide to help them do mods or changes on their own printer. Thanks to sponsors, Bigtreetech, Bondtech, and Bigtreetech, please. Yes, I think it's time to go. So yes, cheerio. I shall see you all. I think we might do one tomorrow. If not, I think I'm free. No, can't do Monday. Maybe Tuesday. Might be busy Tuesday as well. There'll be another stream soon. Maybe tomorrow. We might do a later time tomorrow. Maybe the 7 o'clock time tomorrow. That sounds good, doesn't it? Goodbye, everyone. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon.